coining a phrase. We're the historians and the reenactors, and we put the personal touch to our display. It's not just a display that people can walk by, look at, and walk away. We want to interact with the people that visit our displays. We want them to look, touch, feel the items, put them on if need be. It's a historical and educational as well, that we can educate the younger generation, specifically what the Army Air Forces did during World War II. As the veterans unfortunately are dying off in unfortunately large numbers these days, it's very important to carry on what they did. And by doing what we do at our display, we're not only honoring those that are with us, but we're certainly memorializing those that are not with us anymore, that have recently passed on, and those that never made it back from their particular theater during World War II. We point out the personal aspects of a crew member or any member in the Army Air Forces. We don't have aircraft, but we can add that personal touch and the personal experience of those members in the Army Air Forces. And then if there happens to be B-17s or any other heavy aircraft, heavy bombers or fighters at a particular show we're doing, they can go look toward that particular aircraft, come back, visit us, and we add that personal touch. It's one thing looking at an aircraft and walking around it, but you need that insight which we can add to it.
President of the United States ordered me to break through the Japanese lines and proceed from Corregidor to Australia for the purpose, as I understand it, of organizing the American offensive against Japan. Our prime objective of which is the relief of the Philippines. I came through, and I shall return. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Russ again at the B-25, the veteran of the Mediterranean Theater of Operations.
I was interested in starting a group, naturally involving the A.A.F.H.A, the American Volunteer Group, and it wasn't that much interest in it. I had seen A.A.F.H.A at West Point, I'd seen him once before. I had talked to Wayne in reference to starting up a group, getting information. I spoke to him a few times. He gave me some very good information, and finally he said that even though you basically concentrate on bombers, it might be interesting to get a different slant on something. And then he invited me to come over as A.A.F.H.A, not as part of a bomber organization.
I got into it because of Jerry and Sean. I mean, initially, they always had an enthusiasm for aviation. We started going to air shows actually before Sean was born, but once we got Sean into it, we just kind of escalated. And then once they joined, I learned about the AVG from them, and I found the story of Emma Jane Foster just to be absolutely fascinating, how she and the other nurse volunteered to go over with Chenault before we got into the war. And then after I met her here, that just kind of, I said, okay, that's it, that's what I'm going to do.
My passion for flying, well, it started off with the Flying Tigers. I mean, my father got me really interested in that, and it just escalated more and more as I learned about World War II. I saw A.A.F.H.A at the same time Father saw it at West Point. Naturally, I was too young to join. Then I think I was about 13. But I also got involved in Civil Air Patrol. Civil Air Patrol gave me a lot of aviation experience, and that's where I started learning about the glider pilots. Actually, I went on a glider encampment, and that's how I first flew. I started off in gliders, and then I found out that Wayne was a glider pilot as well. So started researching the glider pilots along with the AVG. They became my second love, and eventually soloed in gliders, and they lowered the age limit, so I was able to join A.A.F.H.A to my delight.
Yeah, even more than that, I'll tell you the story of the first one I saw after the war, and I'd flown into an airport in Florida on civilian aircraft. I was a passenger. And as I looked out while we were landing, I saw this jug parked way off in the corner of the airfield, and I hired a cab to drive me all around the field, and I got right up close to it, and there was a fence between me and it, and I just sat on the grass, and it was hard to keep from crying. I don't know why, but I got so emotional. Now I've seen this thing the second year, and when it starts up, I look, because that's the sound like no other. The sound of that engine.
As much as I teach when I'm behind the table, because I'm always meeting veterans who are filling in on stuff. I mean, I'll start explaining something to a young lady, and her grandfather will be standing there, and then I'll try to drag him in and say, you could probably do this better than I can, and he does. And then I learn something from that.
That's great.
And sometimes the old veterans that just suddenly start opening up. Like a fellow that was in a wheelchair with his son, grandson, and great-grandson. And he came up to the table, and they were just sort of, everybody's looking at it, and he starts explaining all of the gear in detail to his great-grandson. And his son and his grandson are standing behind the chair looking at each other like, I didn't know that. Did he ever tell you that? He didn't tell me that. I didn't know that. But you know, he's got his great-grandson there, and this was the time. It all just flooded out, and they were at the table going all the way up the line at least an hour and a half. You know, and it was like a catharsis for him. It was a great experience for the family because they didn't know this stuff. You know, that was his hidden life, the stuff he never wanted to talk about. And suddenly it all came out. Now, in a way, that all of that experience was saved because now his 3 other generations have learned about it. And if we hadn't been here, it might not have happened. So that's what I get out of it. It's almost like a spiritual mission for some of these people.
Lots of hash stuff. Oh, it's hot. I mean, when they're... Oh, yeah. Corned beef hash. Sausage. Pancakes. Biscuit gravy, biscuits, coffee, iced tea. Eggs are all gone. Serving the troops. This is an eat-at-your-own-risk kitchen. Why do I do it? Well, I could tell you a long story, which you probably don't want to hear, but we owe it to the veterans. They put their lives on the line and they saved our country in a time of great peril. And we as their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren owe them a debt of gratitude that we can never, ever fully repay. God bless them.
My particular niche is the women who served the Army Air Forces, and they were the WASP, obviously, the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, but also the WAC, the 50,000 plus WAC, who served with the Army Air Forces, of flight nurses and nursing. So it's been a lot of fun to expand that whole section into really a total picture of women with the Army Air Forces. Of the time I've spent with the WASP, the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, Schutze Reynolds, Ethel Finley, Scotty Gow, who are over there, you know, we just get together and we swap stories and we laugh and we joke. But they're getting on in years too, and I feel I'm one of the people who can talk about them now because I know them. You have to be able to tell the story, to express it, and to do it as accurately as possible, because there's so much fiction out there where people sort of know something and they invent the rest. So that's always that's fun, but it's also very moving.